Welcome back. You're watching Media Week. Well, some big changes in the magazine sector this week. Let's get all the details. Media Week's James Manny, of course, knows what's been going on. So just firstly, of course, we did see at Bauer, Peter Holder leave and his replacement pretty quickly announced.
Yeah, it didn't take long. Peter Holder finished up on Friday of last week. He'd been there for a long time at Bauer. His most recent role was looking after the Hearst titles. That's the joint venture between Bauer and Hearst International. Magazines like Elle, Cosmo and Harper's Bazaar, of course, pretty significant properties there. Marina Go is going to be his replacement. Slightly different title, but basically doing the same job. She'll be starting a little bit later in the year. She's been working for Eric Beech's private media. I think she stops there in September. And so, yeah, she hasn't been in magazines for a while. She's been out working in digital media, if you like. So, yeah, making a bold return to the publishing business.
Yeah, it started out at Dolly, wasn't it?
Yep, absolutely, a long time ago. And she's worked at most major magazine companies along the way, so she's got a pretty good track record.
Absolutely. Look, I'm just looking as well at Pacific Magazines, out with some pretty big announcements as well this week. A restructure there for those tween teen titles.
Yeah, if you want to start there, yeah, Total Girl and Girlfriend. They've sort of merged the editorial teams, if you like, but they've still have distinctive editors for each title, but below that editor role they'll be pulling on a sort of a pool of staff, if you like, to editorial. It probably makes sense financially. Might be a few savings there they could make. Prevention magazine is going bi-monthly, so it was monthly. A few years ago we had the editor in. I don't know, it's about 3 or 4 years old now, I think, the magazine's been going, so bi-monthly, but they're going to look to expand their digital footprint. I think they only lose one staff member in that shuffle, so more digital eyeballs but less hard copy. And probably the most significant announcement was Marie Claire, the licence has been renewed, so they will continue to publish Australia's #1 fashion magazine with Jackie Frank in charge.
Yeah, and it's nearly, how long, 20 years? Is that?
Yeah, something like that, 20 years. Yeah, and I think Jackie's been there a long time, and we've had her on the show a few times, and so and it's a good money earner for Pacific, so it's good they're hanging on to that.
Just looking to radio, controversy in Sydney Talk Radio this week. Michael Smith, his job offer at 2GB withdrawn. Yeah,
it was going to be a replacement. There's a ratings survey break on at the moment, a fortnight where they take a break. Most of the on-air teams take a fortnight off before they power up for the last half of the year. Michael Smith was going to come in and do, I think it was Drive for a fortnight. He said some things on air with Ben Fordham. It might have been afternoons, but anyway, one of those shifts. And the management didn't like it. They said, look, we can't really have you on air. It just causes us a lot of trouble. The same reason he sort of let go at TUE, really. He got into a bit of conflict there with management over some of the stuff he was saying. So, yeah, he's been running his own blog, and he's probably used to being able to say what he likes on air, not answering to anybody, but it's a different kettle of fish when you're in mainstream media.
You mentioned TUE as well there, the end of the Dicko and Sarah experiments.
Yeah, look, Dicko and Sarah took over breakfast at the start of 2013, I think. They lasted a year. Ratings didn't do great. People say, look, you've got to do 2 years before you can get a breakfast show up. It rarely happens in reality, though. If your numbers aren't good, you're lucky if you get the full 2 years. So they were moved to afternoons. John Stanley and Gary Linnell came in there. Halfway through this year, the ratings haven't been great in afternoons. Overall, the station needs a bit of a shot in the arm too, I think, so they've let them go. Angela Caterns will be taking over the afternoon shift. She was looking after mornings. And Stuart Bocking is coming back. Stuart's worked every shift at the station, probably a couple of times. He's going to be taking over mornings. But Gary Linnell and John Stanley, nothing will improve at TUE really until they can get some traction in that breakfast show, and they're going to persevere with those guys. And, they've got a good chance perhaps of building a bit of an audience there.
We know, just looking at the newspaper publishers, the intense rivalry between News Corp and Fairfax, and the Daily Telegraph and the Sydney Morning Herald were at it this week.
Yeah, it's usually the Australian involved in lobbing a few grenades, but the Daily Telegraph had a crack this week. There was over the Rolf Harris guilty verdict, which I think happened late to Monday night, our time this week. The Daily Telegraph was able to get it in their print edition. The Sydney Morning Herald wasn't, so the Telegraph made a big deal of that during the week and called the opposition the static Morning Herald. So, yeah. But the Fairfax papers do seem to have a very early cut-off with a big focus on, their digital audiences for... but it just so when it happens, I mean, there's been a lot of late-night tennis this week, and neither newspaper have been able to get those results in, so you win some, but you can't win them all, I guess, with that.
Just looking at, I guess, the battle for sports rights, we've seen the Big Bash schedule come out. 10 seems to be pretty happy, and Hamish McLennan's also been speaking there about he wants back in on AFL.
Yeah, he does. First on that Big Bash, yeah, the fixture came out. I think it starts about December 18. It's very late December anyway, just before Christmas. 10's very happy because I think all but one of the matches is in prime time. Last season there was a few games in afternoons, which didn't really rate well. Advertisers aren't that interested, but with all games in prime time, 10 were very happy because it performed well for them. So that's a big plus there. And yeah, Hamish McLennan's been talking about they want to get back in the AFL rights. They've been out of it for a little while. But they're going to have to spend up a little bit, and part of the panel at the AFL now who will be negotiating that is Kim Williams, of course, the former Foxtel chief, who's now on the AFL Commission. The current rights deal is worth about $1.25 million. Not all of that's cash, a lot of it's contra. It's roughly, you think, about $1 billion. What did I say? 1.25 billion, yeah. About $1 billion of that in cash, the rest in contra. Speculation that the 1.5 will be where the bidding will be at for the next bunch of rights. But you've got to think Foxtel and Seven are probably both pretty interested in keeping 10 out of it because, you know, they like carving it up between them, and another player is not going to be welcome, I don't think.
All right, so fierce battle there by the sounds. Just in terms of the streaming music world as well, because we've been talking a lot about this, the race to sort of grab part of that. Apple bought Beats last month, we were talking about that. Now another acquisition.
Yeah, it was a massive Apple bought Beats, something like $3 billion. There's also the headphones business as well as part of that, but I think the big attraction there was the streaming music. Yeah, this week Google announced they'd acquired Songster. I don't know how to say it, but it doesn't have much of a presence. 39 million. So if you look at 39 million, 3 billion is perhaps a bit of a bargain. It's not a massive business, less than 50 staff members, but it gets them a foothold in that space. And if you put it with the Google brand, it could become pretty important pretty quickly.
Something to watch, absolutely. Out-of-home sector, it's been updating the market on revenues. What did they have to say? Yeah,
look, they measure their revenue calendar year, so we've just had the Q2 figures for that, up 9% to 138 million, so pretty big jump. They'd be happy with that. The first half of the year for them up 5.5% to about just over $250 million, $260 million. So look, you roll that forward, they could be looking at about a $570 million year this year if those that can keep going, that sort of growth.
Yeah. Just another story, interesting one, Fetch TV. What's it been doing? It's set a pretty ambitious sales target.
Yeah, look, Scott Lawson's been talking about that, and we're going to have him on the show in a couple of weeks, so I'll get a lot more detail then. But they've been talking about their audience projections. They're pretty ambitious. They want hopefully something towards 1 million customers they'd like in 5 years or by 2020, I think. So that's a big growth from where they are now. But they've been doing some deals. I think they've done a deal with Harvey Norman, which sees you purchase some hardware and then your subscription fee could be as low as about $5 a month. So that could be attractive to a lot of people. It's IPTV delivered entertainment, and if you like, a bit of a cheap alternative to Foxtel, although it is a space Foxtel has been playing in lately, as we've talked about.
Yeah, and some more news from that as well coming up. We're going to take a very quick break here on Media Week. Coming up, though, we've got all the latest TV ratings for you.